Hello, everyone. It is 11 o'clock Pacific time and 2 o'clock Eastern, so we will get started. Welcome to the Food Biz Plus of the Food Business School of the Culinary Institute of America. I am Kathy Jorin. I'm the director of the Food Business School, and we are based here at the CIA Copia campus in Napa Valley. Our Food Biz Plus series is typically a monthly conversation with an industry expert, and we are happy to get this up and running again and look forward to speaking with you. Today well, just to let you know a little bit, about Food Business School, we're the Center for Executive and Graduate Education at the Culinary Institute of America and have been operating for about 3 years now. We have a mission of enabling and empowering our students to design, deliver, and lead transformative innovations that address the world's most pressing food systems challenges, which we also think are the greatest business opportunities in the food industry today. Today, our guest is Ron Tanner from the Specialty Food Association, talking about Food Biz plus Specialty Foods. Ron is the Vice President of Philanthropy, Government, and Industry Relations for the Specialty Food Association, which is the owner of the fancy food shows in both San Francisco and New York City, and the publisher of the Specialty Food magazine. So Ron would like to start by giving us some information about the state of the specialty food industry. And by the way, we have a variety of questions that you've all submitted in advance of this session today, but you can also enter questions during this talk in the chat section of this Adobe Connect platform. So please feel free to do that as we go along. And welcome, Ron. We look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Well, thank you very much, Kathy. We have some preliminary information on the state of the specialty food industry. We're actually going to be releasing this information at the Summer Fancy Food Show, which occurs from June 30th to July 2nd at the Javits Center in New York City. So if you are in the New York area or want to travel to the New York area, we'd love for you to be able to come to the Fancy Food Show, where you'll have the opportunity to see around 180,000 specialty food products. So there's a lot of things there. Kathy was one of our judges for our Sophie competition, so she got to taste a lot of the products, but not quite that many different products. I just wanted to give some of this preliminary information.
Pretty amazing.
Sales of specialty food in 2018 reached $140.3 billion. That's in 2017, actually. It's our 2018 state of the specialty food industry, but the data is from 2017. But that's a very, very large business. When we started doing this research 12 years ago, the size of the specialty food industry was around $25 billion. So you can see that it's grown quite a bit. And with people such as you on the call who want to go into the specialty food business, we're hoping and anticipating it will grow even more. Food service accounts for almost 22% of specialty food sales. So we think that when many people think of specialty foods, they think of products which are on shelves in stores. But food service is a very substantial part of that business, with products going into restaurants, going onto cruise ships, going into hotels. So it is an important thing to look at. So anybody on the call who's looking at going into specialty foods, think of the food service as an important part of the business. Specialty foods are booming. They grew by 12.9% between 2015 and 2017, where sales of all food just grew by 1.4%. So growing much, much faster than the mass market foods. And they represent about 16% of all food sales at retail. So it's a fast growing industry. There's a lot of interest in the industry. There's a lot of great products out there. There's a lot of great retailers, and we're happy to let you know about it and answer some of these questions with Kathy, and which all of you have given to us. Cheese and plant-based cheese is the biggest category at over $4 billion. There's a lot of great cheeses coming from the United States and still coming from Europe and other parts of the world. So cheese is a very important part of the business. Can you change to the next slide?
There we go.
The top 5 growth categories, and we're going to answer this even more in one of the questions coming up, are water. Water is growing tremendously. Rice cakes, refrigerated, ready-to-drink tea and coffee, Jerky and meat snacks, people were loving protein, particularly jerky, and shelf-stable creams and creamers are growing a lot. As part of our research, we do go out to consumers and ask consumers if they purchase specialty food, and 65% of U.S. consumers do purchase specialty food products, and that goes up even more when you're looking at younger consumers. So between the ages of 18 and 23, more than 3/4 of them purchase specialty food products. That's good for the future because if younger people buying the products, they're going to be continuing to buy the products. And plant-based foods, as everybody knows, are becoming very, very big. And 1/3 of specialty food consumers bought those plant-based foods in the past 6 months. So those are just some of the basic information. Please, if you can take a look at the summer issue of Specialty Food Magazine, we'll have our complete state of the industry and consumer report in it, along with some trend predicting for the future. And if you can come to the Fancy Food Show, there will be a full presentation on this. And Kathy, with that, I think we can go into some of the questions you have.
Excellent, thank you. So Ron, you've been with Specialty Food Association since 1987. Can you tell us a bit about the organization itself and your roles and how both have
1987
evolved
is a
over the
long
years?
time ago. You know, it's 31 years, and the organization has tremendously increased in size and in scope. When I started here, we had 6 employees. We now have 54 employees, and the specialty food business was much, much smaller then. There's been a lot of growth in the industry. You know, great products were coming out in the late 80s. You had products such as the Sable and Rosenfeld products coming from Canada, Silver Palette, which made a big splash then. So there were a lot of great products that were coming along, but it was really kind of the start of American specialty food products. Before that, many of the products were imported products, you know, Bon Maman jam, you know, different things like that. And the American side of the business started to really explode in the late 80s and has been exploding for the last 30 years. Back then, we had approximately 400 members. We now have close to 4,000 members. So great growth within the specialty food industry. Personally, I've had the opportunity to do almost everything at the Specialty Food Association except count the money. You know, I've never been in the accounting department, you know, but I've done marketing, I've done our public relations, I've done our education program, I've done our publications. We have a publication called Specialty Food Magazine, which goes to about 35,000 buyers across the country. And we also have a newsletter called Specialty Food News, which goes out to about 55,000 people. So I've had a great experience here, have learned a lot. Now I manage our relationships with different universities. I manage a specialty food foundation and do a lot of work with our government relations activities.
And the organization is primarily a membership organization,
Yeah, the
correct?
organization is a business membership organization. We're a 501c6, which would be the same as a Chamber of Commerce. So our members are companies. They're not individual members. So the number right now is 3,800, 3,850. So 3,850 companies are members of our association. When you look at the total number of people working for these companies, it's much larger than that. But it is a membership business to business organization.
Right. And how can people access the publications?
Specialty Food Magazine, you need to be a buyer to receive that. It's a controlled circulation magazine. Specialty Food News is open to people that want to subscribe to that. I would go to specialtyfood.com, which is our website, and you'll be able to have a link to Specialty Food News if you want to subscribe. And actually, you can read the magazine online. Anybody can do that. It's just the printed copy of the magazine, which has the controlled circulation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. What defines a specialty food as opposed
Well,
to
in
other
advance
types
of this, I wanted to actually look up our bylaws definition of specialty food, which, you forgive me, I have to put on my glasses to read this. But I think it defines it relatively well, and then I'm going to try to define it a little more simply. But our bylaws definition is a specialty food is defined by its originality, authenticity, ethnic or cultural origin, specific processing, ingredients, limited supply, distinctive use, extraordinary packaging, or specific channel of distribution or sale. By virtue of the product's differentiation in their categories, such products maintain a high perceived value and often command a premium price. So that's what the definition is in our bylaws. I mean, our bylaws were written a long time ago. That definition has been updated, but I think a little more easy way to define it is they are products which have quality ingredients and usually have a person behind the product. When you look at the mass market products, they're manufactured and there probably was a person back in the past behind the product, but ours are really created by people who have these wonderful dreams of what they want to bring out to people, and they use quality ingredients. They use put a lot of taste into them, and the person is standing behind the product. So we like to that's a little bit simpler than the bylaws definition, but that's how I would define specialty foods.
That's great, thank you. And I know when we were judging the Sophie Awards, it was all about the quality of the ingredients and the taste and the flavors. We obviously didn't know the stories behind them because it's a blind tasting, but judging on the perceived value and the quality
Oh, I
of the
think
ingredients
it's
was
very
really
important.
important.
And when you're tasting, I don't think you did chocolate, but when you're doing chocolate and cheeses, you need to go on the quality and the ingredients which are in there.
Yeah. Great. So other than what you've mentioned so far in terms of the cheese category, what other categories do you see growing the most right now? And do you have thoughts about categories for the future that would be
Well, this one
seeing
surprises me,
significant
but
growth?
water is the fastest growing category. Water's grown about 76% between 2015 and 2017. I think people, a lot of people are, they're taking tap water and they're putting in bottles and they're carrying with them, but a lot of people are buying the bottled water. So that's been growing quite a bit. Surprisingly, when you look back at some of the pioneers of the Specialty Food Association back in the late 70s, Evian water and Perrier water and Pellegrino water came in through the Specialty Food Association, through the Fancy Food Show. But now there's waters which are coming in with, vitamins and oxidation and, different things put into them. And people are really looking at water as a growing product. As a matter of fact, if you look at the 10 fastest growing categories, 3 of them are beverages. Ready to drink tea and coffee is growing very quickly. People are looking for alternatives to sodas. I mean, sodas and things like that are still really, really big, but people are looking for alternatives to that. And also functional beverages are growing quite a bit. And things such as kombucha, a lot of those type of products. So a lot of growth in the beverage industry. Meat and meat snacks is growing tremendously. People are looking for protein, and a lot of the growth categories do have protein in them. Even when you look at the snack category, you see things such as lentil chips or bean chips, which you get your protein, you get your salt, and you get your fat all together. What could be better than that? So, those are growing quickly also. Rice cakes, which surprises me, is one of the fastest growing categories. It is one of the smallest categories as well, but it is growing pretty quickly. And there's a lot of refrigerated and frozen products which are growing quickly. Refrigerated creams and creamers, refrigerated entrees are growing. Wellness bars and gels. I think you see, growth in, granola bars and things like that. So, and also one which continues to grow is yogurt and kefir. Yogurt and kefir 5 years ago we tracked 51 different categories in our state of the industry. Yogurt and kefir was about number 35 5 years ago, and now I think it's number 6. And it's still growing at a 21% clip between 2015 and 2017. So again, that has to do, I think, with the protein. People are really looking at wanting to get more protein in their diet. Eggs is actually a growth category as well. And especially eggs are basically organic eggs, but you're seeing a lot of growth in that. So a lot of growth in protein and a lot of growth in beverages.
Which makes sense with the concern about health and wellness and um, just functional foods and foods on the go. All of that makes a lot of sense, right? And then, and in terms of the water, interestingly, it's not surprising because people are even talking about water and food pairings now with all the different types of waters that are out there, and because non-alcoholic drinks and pairings with non-alcoholic drinks are really popular. But I find that very interesting as well. That it's about the water, the flavor, the sourcing, the natural flavors that give waters different perceptions
And
that
I
can pair
think a
with
lot of
different
the water
foods.
growth has been in
Pretty
sparkling
interesting.
water too. You know, people like that kind of fizz that they get, and
Uh-huh.
instead of getting it from Mountain Dew, you know, they'd rather get it from LaCroix or one of those other types of beverages.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Thank you. Let's see. So, in terms of the varieties of specialty foods, what do you think are some key attributes that make one particular specialty food stand
There's a
out
lot of
over
different
another?
attributes, but I think creative flavor combinations is really something that people are looking at. And, you know, consumers love that. And if you can get that combination done in an interesting way, you can build up the story for it. One of the products that we had in the selfie competition, which I thought was quite good, it was a bourbon barrel aged maple syrup. So they took maple syrup and they put it in a bourbon barrel and they got that kind of bourbony flavor to it. And you could put it on pancakes, but you can also use it as a drink mix, which I think is what they're marketing for, you know, but kind of some of those creative combinations. We have another company that does Singaporean meat snacks. So they do things such as candy bacon and different things like that. So, you know, they're taking products which are a heritage from around the world, from another country, and bringing them into the U.S. and working on the, you know, the meat trend, which is going on, and also some of the spicy trends. So I think the creative flavor combinations are really important. And also, as I mentioned before, the story behind the product is really important. And I think, you know, the ingredients. And interestingly, what a lot of our retailers tell us is that sometimes the fewer ingredients that are in the product, the better it is. You know, when you look at some of the labels on some products you'll see in the grocery store, there could be 20 ingredients in them. But when you look at some specialty food products, we had a product in the Sophie competition again, which was a butternut squash seed oil. And the ingredients for that were butternut squash seeds, and that was it. You know, we have another member which brings in products from Austria, which does pumpkin seed oil. You know, their ingredients are pumpkin seeds. So I think people are looking for the purity of taste. So if you can combine flavors creatively, that's good. Or if you can just go back to the goodness which is in those original, you know, ag products which are used in products, I think that can make products really successful too.
Excellent. Thank you. Just answering a quick question from one of our listeners today. We put up a couple of general slides here, but we don't have slides for all of our conversation. We're having a sort of a casual conversation, answering some questions. So you won't see the topics that we're speaking about throughout this whole session on the slides, just FYI. And another question is that we will send out this link to this session afterwards to all of you who are listening. So you'll have that later. Continuing on, the Specialty Food Association, through its leadership awards and other programs, celebrate companies that are doing special good and benefiting society. How important do you think that is, Ron, for entrepreneurs to consider these types of issues when
I think it's
developing
very
their new
important. People
products?
now, particularly millennials, are looking for products and companies which are doing good. You know, and it's essential for you to have that to really get started in the specialty food business. Essential might be too strong of a word, actually, but you know, consumers want to support companies that are doing good because they want the money that they're spending to really go and help society. And when you're talking about specialty food products, you know, you're paying a little bit more for them. You're paying a little bit more because of the quality ingredients, but you're also wanting to support the company and support its mission. And it's been in specialty foods since the beginning. That is kind of in the DNA of the specialty food business, is to really help people that are in need. And our leadership boards are an excellent example of things like that are being done, both on a big global basis, but also on a local basis. We have a company called Rumi Spice who received a leadership award a couple years ago. The woman that started that company was a soldier in Afghanistan. She came back from Afghanistan, went to Harvard Business School, and then realized what she wanted to do was to help the women of Afghanistan. And she started a company which had them stop farming opium and start farming saffron. So she has started this company now, very, very successful, expanding into other types of spices. So a lot of real help on the global level, but also a lot of great local things that are being done. Another one of our Leadership Award members is called Milton's Local, and this was a young man who his family had a farm in Virginia. He went to law school, became a lawyer for a while. And what happens a lot in specialty foods is people become lawyers or architects or real estate agents. There's different things like that. They realize that's not as fulfilling as something else, so they'll move into specialty food. But Milton moved back to his family farm and started a co-op of heritage meat producers. So he's not helping the world, but he's helping his county or 2 or 3 counties in Virginia really maintain their family farms. So stories like that are what people want to hear. If you can support things directly, that's really good. But even giving part of your profits to different organizations, helping with hunger relief is important. We went out with a survey to our members when we started the Specialty Food Foundation, asking how many of them help through donating food or doing other things in their community. And about 80% of specialty food companies are doing something to help.
It's fabulous. That is excellent. And yeah, I think that from what we see through the Food Business School as well, the ethical leadership in this area is really critical and very
it's similar to what chefs are doing it as well.
Okay.
So I mean, it's really something which is important in all aspects of the food industry.
Exactly. Okay, so what are some key things that innovators may want to know before deciding to enter this?
I think what innovators need to know before entering the business is what they want with their company and what they want with their life. Because there are many reasons to go into specialty food business. Sometimes it's a family farm that needs to make an extra $100,000 a year to keep the family farm. For some other companies, they want to bring out vegan products that are going to be replacing meat, and helping save, different things around the planet. So you really need to get your aspirations straight as to what you want to accomplish. And I think many people go into the specialty food business just with an idea that this is a great food product. They want to bring this food out to other people, but they don't really know where they want to go. And what happens with a lot of companies is they just get confused. And they'll start out well, they'll get their product out there, they'll maybe start in a farmer's market, then maybe go to some regional markets, but then they don't know where they want to be in 3 years and 5 years. And we feel it's really important for people to define what they want to do and what they want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Yes, is it a hobby or is it really truly a business that they want to
and it can be
use as a
either is fine,
right? It's really
but you need to. That is
right.
You just said it really well, better than I did. I mean, you need to decide if it's a hobby or if it's a business. And if it's a business, is it a business that you want to support yourself and your family for the next 20 years, or is it a business you want to grow and sell to somebody else? A lot of since specialty foods are such a hot commodity right now, a lot of the companies are being sold to large manufacturers. And that's what some people want. That's what some people totally don't want. So you need to define how you want to go forward with those aspirations for yourself.
Yep. Very good information and very key decision making that needs to happen as you enter this industry. Okay, so how does a new producer get a product?
There's a whole process that they need to go through, and many people have gone through that. So to join the Specialty Food Association, the rules right now, and they may be changing soon, but the rules are you have to be in business for 1 year, and you have to have at least 5 buyer references. We want companies that are established to be part of the association. So those are the rules that we have. The worst thing for a company to have happen to them is to go exhibit at a trade show. They get an order from Target or Costco and they can't fulfill their order. And you can't say to the Costco buyer, oh, hey, yeah, I'd love to do business with you, come back in 2 years when I'm ready to produce the product for you. So those are the rules to become a member of the association, and you have to be a member of the Specialty Food Association to exhibit at the fancy food shows. So the first step is to become a member. We do have another program called the Member Candidate Program, which some of the people on this call may qualify for. So for a member candidate, you can be in business less than a year and have fewer than 5 retail references, and you join as basically almost like a potential member, and your benefits are limited. Although you still have the opportunity to have a tabletop or 4-foot table exhibit at one fancy food show. Once you become a member, you can sign up to exhibit at the show. Our shows have a lot of exhibitors. The Summer Fancy Food Show, which is coming up on June 30th, has around 2,600 exhibitors. The Winter Fancy Food Show, which is in San Francisco, has around 1,600 exhibitors. But the exhibit space does fill up. Like right now, we're sold out for New York. And you need to kind of plan what you're doing, plan on doing it early. We do get most of the companies into the show, but you do need to plan to go ahead and doing that. The cost of exhibiting at a fancy food show, we don't think is extraordinary because we're a not-for-profit membership association rather than a for-profit organization. We try to keep things manageable for the members. The price of a booth at the fancy food show has not really changed in the last 10 years. And if you come in and take out a 10 by 10 booth, which is the standard small size, it's going to cost you around $3,600. So it's not a huge investment when you're thinking about, how much money you can spend to start a business. And it's a great opportunity because the shows will have, anywhere between 14,000 and 19,000 buyers that come by. So you have a great opportunity to really make those connections, which can start your business.
Exactly, and that kind of an investment with that number of buyers going through, serious buyers, and all of the attendees are vetted and qualified. So that is a really great.
So many companies have started by doing that, and we're just so proud of some of our graduates. Companies such as Kind Bars and Pop Chips, Ben and Jerry's. I mean, people started with their little 10 by 10 booth and, have grown to become, even billion-dollar companies. So it's a great opportunity for people to get their products out there on the market.
That's wonderful. Okay, let's see. At what point in the startup trajectory of a specialty food business do you think that marketing takes?
I think marketing is always important to what you're doing. Usually when you start, it's more selling. You may be selling at a farmer's market, selling at a local or regional market. But marketing becomes important really like when you get to the point where you want to exhibit at a fancy food show. In our research, our members spend around 10% of their budget on marketing. And that marketing could be online marketing, it could be promotions in stores, usually trade show participation is part of their marketing budget. But really probably when you're into the business, maybe year and a half, you would want to start spending that money. But again, you need to look at what you see as the trajectory of your business and figure it out based on that. If you want to start and become a $15 million business in 2 years and then sell yourself to General Mills or something like that, you're going to have to spend a lot of money on marketing earlier in the process. If you want to grow gradually, you can do it a little bit later on. But it is important to get word out there about your company. And I think it probably depends on what your aspirations are as when you would start spending that money.
Right. Good, thank you. A couple of questions that came in during the conversation have to do with organic and how important that is, and then also what you're thinking about in terms of proteins. Are nut-based products popular as a protein and plant-based product? And what about insect products? So that's 3 questions.
Organic is very important. People are looking for organic products. I think that, from the research that I've seen, the closer it is to the actual agricultural product, the more important it is. So, organic milk, organic fruits and vegetables, organic meat, probably more important than organic salad dressing and things like that. We have, well, we've done some research into how many of our members have organic or natural food products, and that's about 60% of them. So it's very important for them to have that attribute, and organic is growing very, very quickly, and it's an important thing to have on your product. Sometimes it's difficult to get the organic certification, particularly if you're using certain ingredients which are hard to grow organically, or if you're in a situation where you're not always able to use the same suppliers. But we feel that it's important, and that, if you can be organic, you should try to be organic. Regarding the protein, nuts are big. People are buying a lot of nut products, a lot of nut-based butters. You're seeing a lot of, there's a question we may get to later about chocolate. You're seeing a lot of nuts in chocolate. So people are looking at nuts as a source of protein. And I think there's some alternative nuts which are coming along, which people are going to be using as a source of protein. So nuts are really good. You're actually seeing nuts in a lot of beverages in a way. So they're getting that nut, whether it's like an almond powder or exactly what it is, they're getting that protein into beverages and getting that protein delivered in a different way, rather than eating a handful of almonds. Like for me, if I ate a handful of almonds, I would then have a second handful of almonds and then a third handful of almonds. So sometimes people are looking at different ways to get that. I know they're good and they're hard to stop eating. So nuts are good, and nut-based butters are one of the faster growing categories. That can be almond butter or cashew butter, or you're seeing a lot of sesame seed butter. You're seeing a lot of those going on because when people are, if they're having toast for breakfast, rather than putting butter and jam on it, they're looking for getting protein in that manner. So you're seeing those grow pretty quickly.
Great. And then how about the insect question?
We gave one of our leadership awards to one of the leaders, the Aspire group, that is doing cricket-based protein products. We see that as something which is going to be coming on pretty strong. A lot of it is in flour, so you're seeing a lot of cricket flour. You're seeing a lot of money going into insect-based proteins, and that probably is the wave of the future. And interestingly, like I do a lot of speaking presentations, and like if I would talk to a specialty food association, which may have some older people that are part of it, and I would ask how many of them have tasted, insect-based products. Maybe 10% of them would raise their hand. But then when I would speak to students at like UC Davis or Cornell and ask them how many have tasted insect-based products, it's probably close to 90%. So you're seeing a lot more, a lot more acceptance of this in the younger generations, and I think you're going to see them growing fairly substantially.
Yep, I think so too. I know that our faculty and students here at the CIA at Greystone in Napa Valley recently had an insect tasting. So they were all experiencing a variety of different insects and the different flavors, and I think they were mostly dried, but they compared different insects, which was pretty interesting. And I also saw a method of capturing insects for a company in Thailand was developing through the Biomimicry Institute, because they were capturing these insects as an alternative source of protein in an area that needed some more economical protein options. So pretty interesting.
Something and it's crunchy, it's going to taste good. I mean, once you get away from any prejudices you have about it, I think that there's great potential.
Yep, I think so too. Okay, so now diving into a few more questions that were submitted in advance of the session. What do you think about specialty foods and wholesale? How would you get into a wholesale, a larger market like a Whole Foods?
Well, there's really two ways to do that, and wholesale is not really the term that's used. So you can sell directly into a store. So they had mentioned the question Whole Foods market, and I think maybe Mariano's. So you can go directly to a store and say, hey, I'd like to sell into your market. Whole Foods used to be huge at that. They had their local foragers who would go out and who would search products and you could bring the products to them. They've stepped back a little bit on that with some of the corporate changes that they've had, but many stores will accept products directly from you. So if you have a product that you like, we would suggest that you maybe go to a local independent specialty food store to start with. But you also might want to go to a small chain which is in your market. If you're in the Portland, Oregon market, New Seasons is very good at accepting local products, and they actually have a box which you can go in and get, and you put your product in the box with information, and they take a look at it. So direct it can work, and most stores will buy a few things direct. If you want to go into more of the stores, you have to go through a distributor. So the supply chain with specialty foods is often like you would produce your product, you would sell it to a distributor. There's three very large distributors in the US, but a lot of small and local distributors. And then the distributor resells it to the store. So if you're going to be selling in Safeway or in Publix or even in Whole Foods, you have to sell through that distributor and they take it into the store. And when you're starting your business, again, looking at what your aspirations are, you have to think about pricing your product because the ultimate consumer price is going to have to reflect a cut for the distributor. The industry has brokers too, which take a cut. Not everybody uses brokers, but a lot of people do. So you have to look at all those different parts of the supply chain to determine how you want to make money. Because you shouldn't, it can be a hobby, but even a hobby you don't want to lose money on. So you need to be able to price your product to cover these different parts of distribution. But generally, if you're going to get into a large chain, you are going to need to use a distributor.
Right. So now you've got the broker, this distributor, the store. Before
Yeah,
you even get
it's
to the
not
consumer,
unusual, and
right?
I'm just making
Yeah.
up these numbers, but they're not
Indeed.
that far off. If you make your product for $1, it's probably going to retail for 4. Because by the time everybody takes their part of it, and you need to think that through when you start doing your business, because what you can't really do is you make it for $1 and you say, oh, I think somebody pay $1.50 for this. So you start selling it for $1.50. As your business grows, you're not going to be able to do that. And people don't like you taking price increases. So our suggestion is to really look at where you think it would sell when it has all these different costs involved with it and start selling it at that price. And then you will be covering those different costs and there won't be any surprises for you or any surprises with your partners as you go forward in the business.
Exactly. Lots to think about. How, what do you suggest about food safety and how a new manufacturer would set up food safety plans early on and how to deal with
Well,
any
you need to produce
potential
safe food.
challenges in that
That's in the
area?
law. And you should set yourself up from the beginning to be able to do that. The Food Safety Modernization Act, which is on the land right now, requires you to have what's called a PCQI, a preventive control qualified individual. And that person needs to write your food safety plan. So when you're starting a business, if you're going to be manufacturing, you need to do that yourself. If you're working through a co-packer or even working at a commercial kitchen, you can get somebody else to do that for you. But you need to set up that food safety plan from the beginning. There's training that you can take to do that yourself through the Food Safety Preventive Control Alliance. That training is offered probably 500 times a year at different facilities. And one of the good things to do too is to reach out to your local land grant university. So if you are in California, you can reach out to UC Davis. If you're in Oregon, reach out to Oregon State. If you're in Texas, reach out to Texas A&M. They all have people that can help you set up those food safety plans. But you want to make safe food to start with, and you're required by law to make safe food. So that should be an important part as you're putting together your plan to get your business started.
Thank you. Very important. skipping over a couple here just to get to a couple of other interests that people are expressing even as we're talking. What are the trends in desserts and sweets, and then
Well,
coffee
I'll
and
do the two
chocolate?
desserts
Kind of
first.
goes
I mean,
along
and
with
the
the
trends in
desserts.
dessert is basically ice cream. I mean, people love ice cream. There are so many wonderful ice creams out there. Humphrey Slocum in San Francisco. I mean, just so many good companies that started as regional ice creams or even local ice cream parlors, and they've developed their business and have been doing these great ice creams. I think in the Sophie Awards this year, we had to break out ice cream as a separate category, and we had around 140 ice creams for people to taste. So a lot of ice cream, and a lot of the ice cream is kind of going portable. So you see things like ice cream sandwiches, you see things such as, they're, kind of juice on a stick, so rather than the typical like popsicle, it's, different type of juices like you would get in a smoothie put on a stick. So you're seeing a lot of interest in those types of products. And that's where I see really, the dessert category going primarily. Within coffee, I mean, there's a lot of single origin coffee coming along. There's a lot of people that are looking at coffee, which is, coming from different regions of the world, and that's supporting the local farmers. The specialty coffee business has kind of peaked. I mean, there's a lot of growth, not growth there. I mean, there's a lot of people that drink specialty coffee, but it's not one of the growth categories anymore. I think that, a lot of people are already doing it, but the single origin, I think, is what people are looking for. And especially chocolate, there's always talk about milk chocolate coming back, and but what we're finding is that really dark chocolate is strong. People are looking for dark chocolate. They're looking for single origin chocolates, which are coming from, one country or even one farm. And when we went through the Sophie tasting, it was interesting. The single origin chocolates were really good. So I think we're seeing that as somewhat of a trend in chocolate. And I think you're seeing more of a trend in, kind of, indulgent chocolate that, but not like truffles and not like big rich things that you would buy, more like an indulgent square, something that you could have. Because what happens with specialty foods is people love to use specialty foods to treat themselves. And, you could treat yourself with like a whole box of chocolate covered cherries, but that's a little too much for people, so they're looking more at, maybe a little square of a dark chocolate, which they have at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think the trend is really toward some of those more, bite size or controllable size chocolates. And often it's in dark chocolate.
Yep. Yeah, we at the CIA talk a lot about those kind of small indulgences, and we call that the dessert flip, where instead of having a large piece of cake with a garnish of a raspberry or two, you would have a bowl of raspberries with a small little piece of cake, so that you can have that small indulgence, but still keep within the trend of eating healthier and paying more attention to those kinds of
Right. And you don't
calories,
feel
but you
guilty
want to
about
still
it.
not miss that indulgence.
You know, that's important.
Yep, exactly. On the ice cream front, at a recent dinner that I had at a very high-end restaurant in New York City, the dessert offering was ice cream bars, which were really fun and great flavors, and I thought that was a unique new offering, even in a restaurant for
Yeah,
a
that's great.
dessert
That's
that's
great.
on trend with
People
the
love
ice
those
cream.
portable ice cream products.
So, in the interest of staying on time, I think we'll go to one other question that's popular in terms of what are you thinking about the success of food products sold online
I don't
primarily
know
or
if
even
there's a lot of products
exclusively
which are exclusively sold online.
versus
I mean, our research shows that about 16% of specialty food consumers buy products online. And that's how a lot of companies start. So it's a good way to start your product, but you're eventually going to need to get your product into a retail outlet or into some kind of other type of outlet. Because even though 16% online sounds really high, that means that 84% is not sold online. So you need to really go and kind of build out from that. I wouldn't discourage people from trying to do something online, but it's probably not going to be enough to support your business unless you have some real trend thing and some blogger writes about it and a lot of people, rush to get it. I think that you need to balance your online sales with other types of sales.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, great. So, are any other last minute thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners in terms of things that we didn't get to? I know we didn't get to every question. If someone has a very specific question that you really want an answer to, you can email me and I can pass that along to Ron and we can see if we can get an answer. But any other last minute thoughts
I would
that
just
you'd
like
like to
to
impart to our
encourage people,
audience?
if they want to go into the specialty food business, to find different organizations that can help them. I mean, obviously the Specialty Food Association can help them, but with all the food incubators out there and the commercial kitchens and groups such as the CIA getting involved with specialty foods, there's a lot of people that can really help you go out there and start your business. And it's a business that you don't have to invest a lot of money in to get started. You don't have to buy a $100,000 machine or a $5 million machine. You can go out there and you can experiment, work with one of your local incubators and, get one of the local schools to help you out and, go see if you want to do it. You might as well try it. And if you have a great idea, there's a lot of people that are willing to try new specialty food products. So just go out there and pursue your dreams.
Yep, no, that's a great thought because it's really about networking in this industry and meeting people along the way who can help you. One great lecturer that I've heard a couple of times speak from UC Davis is a gentleman named Andy Hargadon who talks about it's not about the idea, it's about the network that you build to bring that idea to life. So very, very important thoughts there, Ron. And thank you so much for your time today and for participating with us. Listeners, if you'd like to stay for just a minute or two, I'll tell you a little bit more about what's next up for Food Business School. But we will let Ron continue with his day. And thank you again so much, Ron. Really appreciate all your great advice and thoughts.
Thank you very much for having us.
We
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, listeners, I'd like to just mention our next upcoming Food Biz Plus session, which is going to be on July 11th, and it will be about product launch insights with Ms. Mina, who has launched a line of Bloody Mary mixes and was able to get it very quickly into Williams-Sonoma as a great product line, and is also now starting her own Bloody Mary bar. So very exciting to hear from her on July 11th. Also wanted to let you know that at the Food Business School at the Culinary Institute of America, we are currently working on a long-term online program for entrepreneurs that is designed for working professionals. It's in the final stages of approval from New York State Department of Education, so we can't officially market it and talk about it publicly yet. But if it's something that you might be interested in, I would be happy to chat with you more about it, and you can reach me directly at my email at Cathy with a C, C-A-T-H-Y, at foodbusinessschool.org. It's something that we're so excited to launch as a new program for the CIA and for the Food Business School. So looking forward to speaking with any of you who might be interested in that. But that's what's next up on our agenda, and I thank you all very much for joining us today. Appreciate your time.